Excuse me. Could you speak into the mic, sir?
It's not on.
The switch works.
There we go.
I'm so used to the one I had over there that doesn't work. Okay, I'm calling to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Town of Florence Planning and Zoning Commission for December 18th, 2014. Mr. Olguin, would you take roll call?
Yes, sir, I will. Vice Chair Patrick,
Here.
Commissioner Petty,
Present.
Commissioner Pranza,
Present.
Commissioner Garcia.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Would you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 4 is the discussion and approval or disapproval of the meeting minutes from the September 18th meeting and the October 16th meeting. Anybody have any questions or changes or comments?
Nope.
I have one, and this is for the October meeting, and that is would be the third page from the back, second paragraph down, the one that shows the final vote. Second paragraph down is attributed to Commissioner Pranzo, and I actually said that. That's the only change.
What page is that?
It is the third to the last page,
Page 18.
the October 16th.
Page 18.
Oh, yeah, there it is, page 16.
16.
16. Second paragraph.
Second paragraph where it says Commissioner Pranzo.
Yeah,
You're correct. Okay. Noted.
got it noted. Okay, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meetings conducted September 18th and October 16th of 2014 with the correction that was just noticed.
Second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. Okay, we'll go on to item number 5 and 5A, which is PZC 01-15-GPA. This is for the Johnson Ranch Estates minor general plan amendment. You have a presentation?
I do. Vice Chair, Commission, good evening. My name is Gilbert Olguin. I'm your senior planner, and I'll be doing the minor general plan amendment presentation tonight. It'll be brief, and I'm going to highlight some of the items within your staff report. And it's referring to the document, the skinnier document that's application for the minor amendment to the Town of Florence 2020 General Plan. So let's start. The application tonight is it was presented to us by WLB Group Incorporated on behalf of the Johnson Ranch Estates LLC and the Florence Majestic Ranch LLC for a minor general plan amendment for the town's 2020 general plan, future land use map. Just so we don't get confused, the property in question, as you see on the map in front of you, currently it's called Florence Ranch. But tonight we're, as we present both cases to you, we're also going to be talking about changing the name to Johnson Ranch Estates, so to have less confusion. Anyways, the proposed project, it's known as Johnson Ranch Estates. It encompasses 1,266 acres and it's near the intersection of State Highway 79, Florence Calvin Highway here in Florence. This property was annexed back in 2000. The Florence Ranch PUD was adopted back in 2008, and currently the designations that exist in our general plan are the following for this property. Low-density residential, also known as LDR, medium-density residential, also known as MDR1, high-density residential, known as HDR, and community commercial. The intent of this general plan amendment is to amend these designations to master plan community, MPC. Typically, the MPC is something that, this designation is something that owner developers go after when they have properties that exceed 140 square acres. And this property does. It's, like I said, 1,200 plus. The minimum size to even apply for the MPC is at least 640. With that said, all properties within this MPC shall be under the control of one master developer, have a plan unit development zoning classification, and be subject to a development agreement between the town and the master developer. I believe there is a DA that's in place for this project. The different land uses proposed by this amendment are as follows. It'll include housing, different varieties, styles, types, commercial, conveniences, open space, which would include recreational amenities. These amenities may include an equestrian facility, senior and assisted living facility, and a recreational vehicle resort. And we'll talk about that as we get into the plan unit development, which would be the next application. When we receive these applications for a minor GPA or a major GPA, there's 9 questions that typically need to be justified by the developer. Staff concurs that they have been able to satisfy that. It's in your report, and I'll cover them briefly. These questions talk about land use, circulation. They show that in the document that you received. Conformity with land use goals that are outlined in our general plan. Also, to conform with proposed ranges, land uses, densities, and intensities. These are all also highlighted in your report. The ability and to have water and sewer, or to provide that to the site. And I would conclude that I believe Johnson Ranch Utilities is going to be the provider to that area, and there is infrastructure that exists there now as of today. Also, they highlight having a 5-acre piece to be dedicated to the fire department with a substation, and also acreage for a possible K-8 school that would be donated to the Florence School District. The fiscal impact of this development would be positive on the town of Florence. The area in question, as you can see here, it's always been difficult to have the ability for this area to grow because there's a lack of infrastructure. Really no way to get water or sewer to these people aside from doing a well and a septic tank. So that's always hindered this area from growing. I believe one of the maps, well, we'll talk about it in the PUD, but there's also existing developments that actually have entitled property that surround this Florence Ranch. So the findings, as I conclude my presentation, we found that the Master Plan Community MPC designation has been identified for a suitable area within the town's planning area. The proposed designation will provide a mixture of uses that will provide density in housing, commercial conveniences, and employment. The property in the subject area should be affected in a positive way by a minor general plan amendment, as the amendment may encourage more diverse housing types, additional market base for employment, and in retail goods and services. The proposed minor GPA is in compliance with the goals, the objectives, and strategies of the 2020 general plan. We went through a pretty extensive process for public participation. We received a few calls on this case. On both cases, they weren't concerned. They just wanted to know what was going on. Mostly, we received the comments and calls from people that live around this project. We're excited to see that this may turn into something. We did post 2 signs on the property, several miles apart. We advertised in our local paper, and we placed, and we have 2 public hearings, one tonight and one next year, beginning of January. So, if you have any comments for me, any details in the report you'd like me to focus on, I'd be happy to. The applicant is here tonight. Also, if you have any questions for him. We only had the one condition, which if our commission has any conditions they want to add, we'd be happy to hear.
If the applicant is here, he would like to step up,
Yes.
and I'll ask the commissioners if anybody has any questions of him.
Good evening. My name is Rob Longacre. I'm with the WLB Group. For the record, my address is 4444 East Broadway Boulevard in Tucson. Here on behalf of the property owners. With me tonight also is Mr. Bill Walker. We'd be happy to entertain questions or discussion on the project.
All right, I have a little bit, nothing tough. The questionnaire you filled out for the minor general plan amendment, I don't know if you're aware of it or if staff is aware of it, but in your question 7, you note that the transaction privilege tax of 4% would be collected by the town. The state has notified contractors that they are no longer collecting TPT tax. I've not been contacted by the county or the town, and it's getting late. It's the end of December. So us out in the construction world, we have no idea whether we're exempt from tax or... So if this has any bearing on how this question was answered, for right now, as far as I'm concerned, TPT tax doesn't exist anymore on construction. Secondly, water. The way I read this, it made me feel that water would be provided by the general contractor or the owner, completely separate from the town of Florence. And so that raised a red flag. Are we walking into the same scenario we just had with Johnson Utilities? So how do you envision this as we go forward? Will you be the water utility forever, or will you be looking for the town of Florence to buy it sometime down the road?
The plan right now for provision of water to the project is that Johnson Utility Company or other entity under the same control as Johnson Utilities, named to be determined, would provide water in this area. They're currently going through several processes to make that happen, and this is with the agreement of the town to allow Johnson Utilities to provide water and wastewater in this area. So they are currently, Johnson Utilities is currently going through the approval processes required with several agencies, Arizona Department of Water Resources, DEQ, and the Corporation Commission, to get all the necessary approvals in order to make this happen.
So this is contingent upon approvals?
This is a contingent upon approvals of other agencies that are already in process, some of which have already been acquired. For instance, Department of Water Resources has issued an analysis of short water supply, which basically means that based on the information submitted by Johnson Utilities, there's been a physical demonstration that there's adequate water supply for the entire project. So these things are underway, and approvals are imminent.
Great. I just wanted to get that out of the way. That flag jumped right out. And last but not least, question I always ask on these things, and it probably makes staff crazy. But this is a fairly ambitious project consisting of over 1,200 acres, best part of 2 square miles, really, when you get down to it. And so there's a lot of money involved in this thing. And so the question is, and I guess you can approach it from 2 ways. The first would be, how do you envision making this attractive from an economical standpoint? In other words, what do you envision as far as economic development that makes the area attractive aside from commercial? And have you dovetailed this or at least communicated with the county so that the whole thing kind of fits together?
I believe that many of you know our client and the property owner, one of the property owners, Mr. George Johnson. The project is ambitious. I've been working with George for a long time. George is very ambitious. He is. And ambitious in a good way. When George does a project, he does a project. I think he's a man of his word, and he stands behind this project. He's excited about it. It is a large project, yes, but this project will be completed in phases, and it'll happen slowly. It'll happen slowly because there's infrastructure that's required to be installed, some of which is already being installed. There are water systems and sewer systems that are being constructed on the property to allow it to happen. So he'll take small bites out of this, because the other thing is, as you're mentioning, is that the market needs to be there. So in order to make this project feasible, quite frankly, the costs need to be kept low. And the housing costs need to be kept down in order to make it attractive and affordable for folks. We feel it's in a great area, tremendous access. It'd be the first project of its kind really in the south side of Florence.
Right.
George has a vision for the project. He has a rural theme of sorts that he'd like to employ here, where he's envisioning areas at the major entries that include some landscaping with white rail fencing, to give it that kind of rural type, equestrian type feel. So he has a vision of how you like this project to look as you see it off the highway. But yeah, in the initial phases, we're looking at housing probably occurring up near the wastewater treatment plant, and that would allow for efficient use of the infrastructure, since it would be near the plant that's currently under construction. So it'll take time, absolutely.
Okay, well, time will tell, won't it? That's all I have. Anybody else? I just have one quick question. The water supply, is that groundwater?
It's hard to hear you, sir.
One question on the water. Is that groundwater?
Yes, it is groundwater.
Well water?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think let's open up the public hearing, and I'll do that now. Open the public hearing. If there's any public here that would like to speak on this particular issue and address the commission, feel free to step up, state your name and address for the record, and you're welcome to come forward.
Okay, my name is Rosalind Switzer, R-O-S-A-L-I-N-D, S-W-I-T-Z-E-R, and I live at 12454 North Lang Road, Florence. So that's just outside of the area on the east side. So I'm not a resident of the town of Florence. I don't know if this is appropriate to be asking you this. I was looking for some information, but I'll go ahead and ask my questions, and most probably the representative for the branch might need to answer them. But my first question was, I had some concern that the roads, if there was any possibility that the roads would feed out to the county roads to the east rather than being internal and feeding into the major arterials. So I wanted some
Vice
sort
Chair.
of assurance about that.
if I may. She's asking questions that would pertain more to the PUD, which we're going to do next. This is more focused on the designation. So we're applying something to this project or on a map that would allow them to move densities around, but we're not talking about the roads yet. You may ask your question now, or you could wait until we address it at the,
What would you prefer, that I come up later?
probably if you'd like to just reiterate your question at the next application.
Absolutely.
That'd be best.
Sure.
Thank you, Gilbert. Anyone else?
We can address it at the next, right now, yeah.
Okay, that's everyone. I'm going to close the public hearing and ask the commissioners one last time if they have anything, or I would entertain a motion.
Vice Chair, Commission, if I may, our staff recommendation recommends approval. However, it's a recommendation.
Yeah.
That was our error.
Make a motion that we approve the minor general plan amendment PZC-01-15-GPA.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have
As
a
a
motion for approval, and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Can I? Everyone's saying approval, but we just recommend.
I'm sorry, I should have said recommend, sorry. You're right.
Right.
Yep.
Recommendation.
Okay, moving on to item number 5B. This is again Johnson Ranch Estates Planned Unit Development, and it is case number PZC-02-15-PUD. And
Vice
over to
Chair,
you.
Commission, good evening. I'll be taking this case as well. Kind of covered a lot of the details that are highlighted in your document. It's more referring to the thicker document of the two that you received, the Johnson Ranch Estates Planned Unit Development. Tonight, we have a request by WLB Group on behalf of Johnson Ranch Estates, LLC, Florence Majestic Ranch, LLC, and the request is an amendment to an existing Florence Ranch PUD. To amend and replace it with an existing PUD with the new name of Johnson Ranch Estates PUD. As mentioned before, the project is a master plan community, approximately 1,266 acres, and it's located adjacent to State Route 79, north and south of Florence Calvin Highway. If you look at the map in front of you, this is the map I referred to earlier. This gives you perspective on how large this project really is. It kind of engulfs about a fourth of the page. But off to the side here, off to the west, we have another existing zoning for a project called Majestic Ranch. To the north, we have of the Johnson Ranch Estates PD, we have Senior Ranch, and a pretty new one that was recent is the Redstone Ranch, which is about 40 acres. And there's existing homes off to this side here, north of the project, and I believe south. And we also have the existing town rodeo grounds south of this project. So this PUD, as we mentioned before, the Florence Ranch PUD was approved in 2008, and it had several land use categories, different types of densities. And it's changed over time. And once again, the Johnson Ranch Estates PUD is going to take it a step further. Here's the land use map that exists in your book, and they're trying to focus what's planned in the general plan, which is low density, but also they want to mix it in with medium density and some commercial, and also have mixed use, which would allow some commercial and possibly some residential. And they focused that from the center of the project on its way out. And that's how they kind of buffered the area with different types of density. But I wanted to focus on the components that exist in your book. First, I'd like to say that PUDs typically, they propose a tremendous amount of flexibility, in order to create these existing towns, or I should say these existing subdivisions or communities like you see Anthem at Merrill Ranch. They need that type of flexibility to help them grow as the market grows and changes. But this PD in particular focuses on 4 components. We have single-family residential district, also known as SFR. We have medium-density residential district, MDR, commercial and mixed-use district, C/MU, and a utility wastewater reclamation facility district, which is U/WRF. And all these uses will be served by roadways consisting of arterial roads, collectors, and local streets. This project is pushing diverse housing opportunities within the project, and typically, it's going to equate to a maximum gross density of 3.8 dwelling units per acre. Give me a second. I was using the wrong set of notes. I wonder why it was so difficult. Here we go. So, as I mentioned before, the land uses have been buffered to kind of help the whole project flow, as you can see on there, the different bubble plans that exist in front of you, from mixed use to the single family. There's a site data chart that's in your packet that covers proposed densities and all the land uses and all the units kind of right in front of you. We talk about them again through the entire packet. But for the residential, the single-family residential district, the component has about 476 acres, gross acres, targeting a density of 4.0 dwelling units per acre, and possibly a maximum of 1,904 single-family lots. That's proposed for that component. And there's also the lot matrix that shows you lot sizes, and everything from 45 feet to 75 feet. And as you see where it says target percentage, 45%, well, which is almost half of the project, is 45 size lots. 75 size lots is about 5% of this project. We also cover medium density residential district, and this component, the maximum density is going to be 6.5 dwelling units per acre, roughly about 244 acres. And there's a maximum of about 1,586 lots that are proposed with a mixture of product types. These are lower density, single-family residential areas. Now, to achieve this type of density, they're proposing everything from single-family residential housing to single-family detached cluster housing, and even single-family attached housing. Now we get to the commercial and the mixed-use component. The combined acreage for both of these is 353 acres. The commercial component by itself would consist of 29 gross acres. And as you see on the map, it's all those dark red portions that are on the bubble map in front of you. And they're located off of major arterials. But the proposed commercial areas in this PUD would provide the residents with future shopping centers and daily commercial needs. The types of end users that they're possibly looking at for this community would be grocery stores, drugstores, gas stations, restaurants, to name a few. Also appropriate retail and office and healthcare. Now within the mixed use portion, or component, I should say, there's 324 acres. And like I mentioned before, it's kind of centered, mixed use is more at the center of the project. Now, within this mixed use, you could have a variety of residential development, town centers, recreational vehicle resorts, equestrian facility, and even the senior and assisted living facilities. The last component for the this PUD is the utility wastewater reclamation facility district. And this district consists of 18 acres, and the permitted uses are utility infrastructure, including but not limited to wastewater facilities, electrical substations, everything that's needed to provide the utilities to this new proposed community. Now, we had some questions earlier regarding the transportation. On the map in front of you, I believe, let's see. No, we'll use this one. The dark black lines, this is Florence Kelvin, and this is Highway 79. These are the first two major arterials that are within the site. The other one would be Dogwood Road, and these are going to be there to help filter traffic in and out of this area. And was talking with the applicant and with the owner/developer, they're going to start more than likely probably up in this area off of existing major arterials and work their way from there. Now, as we spoke earlier, there will also be several collectors and local streets that are going to, as you can see within the map, that are going to filter in throughout these subdivisions. And a lot of these are not existing right now, but they will be as the project moves forward. The project is in a pretty good location, being that State Route 287 is approximately about a half-mile northwest of the site, and this will provide east and west arterial corridor that leads to adjacent communities to the north and to the south of Tucson. Before the project gets on its way, a traffic impact analysis will be prepared in accordance with Town of Florence guidelines, and it'll be submitted to us to review to get proper traffic counts and see which streets need to be developed first. Now, the last thing I'd like to talk about is the open space component. This project will give at least 15%. 11% of the open space is going to be in some of the areas, let's see. It's going to be in some of the areas that exist through the washes and also the green belts that are going to be within the communities, but the other 4% that's required will come as the development starts to go vertical. But within the open space, we're looking at pedestrian pathways, ramadas, turf play areas for kids, landscape buffers along the arterials and collector roadways, and like I mentioned before, the open space areas within the subdivisions. This is going to be a lot like a lot of the communities like the one that we have north of here in Anthem, where they'll have pathways that connect other subdivisions to provide connectivity. So a lot of what you see in the existing Anthem is going to exist here. One of the unique ideas that was presented when we got to work on this project was the idea of having an equestrian facility, the idea to have somewhere where people could board their horses, have horses, and try to utilize these existing washes, as you can see on the map in front of you. There's quite a few of them within here. And instead of closing them off, blocking them off, they're going to utilize them for paths for not just equestrian trails, but for people to use as well. This project is kind of exciting to us because of the concept that the owner had brought, where he wants to focus on something different than what already exists everywhere else. He wants to add different, like was mentioned before, the assisted living facility. That's something that's always in need, and you don't see a whole lot of them. And in my experience, typically there's a lot of people that are against them when they try to locate in different areas. Now, as I mentioned in the previous presentation, they are providing land for the Florence School District to have a school on site, and they're also providing a 5-acre site for police and fire, or fire and police, as it would be a substation. And as mentioned before, the water is to be provided possibly by the Johnson Utility Company. and wastewater collection as well by Johnson Utilities Company. Now, being that staff is running these applications concurrently, technically this case will be in conformance with the general plan if the earlier application is approved. As with the other case, we were able to have an extensive public participation process as before. People that are coming to us and asking questions are those that live around this, wondering when it's going to happen, if it's ever going to happen. As I mentioned before, 2008, the last PUD was approved, and there was all kinds of ideas and dreams about that, and nothing ever happened. So we're hopeful, we're excited. I'll cover my findings in conclusion. The proposed plan unit development as condition will be consistent with the proposed general plan, use designation MPC. Proposed PUD as condition is consistent with the development agreement applicable to the subject site and project. Utility infrastructure is being developed within this PUD to support the growth development within the PUD and surrounding areas. Staff has recommended a favorable recommendation to the Planning and Zoning Commission with set conditions. If you have any questions regarding the conditions or anything within the booklet, I'd be happy to answer applicants here tonight. I wanted to just briefly cover before I finish. As mentioned before, these projects that you see here, the Sunny Ranch, the Majestic Ranch, these were products of the housing boom that we all experienced back in 06, 07. And the one thing that wasn't possible or implausible would for someone to bring water down in this area. Currently, that solution is almost in place. So we're hopeful that this project will move forward with vertical housing. This area has always had its challenges, but we think this PUD is a positive thing for the town of Florence.
Okay. Okay, do we have, commissioners have any questions for staff?
I have one question. On your staff recommendations, number 2, property owners agree to waive claims for diminution in value pursuant to Prop 207. What is that? What are you talking about?
There's a waiver that we didn't submit it with this case. It gets submitted to council, but it's basically a waiver saying that the owner is waiving his right to sue the town because we diminished the value of the property. It was probably, I believe, a proposition that was passed about 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and it's a case in, I believe it's Flagstaff, where they added some ordinances to an existing historic district, and when they did this, it caused a lot of the current tenants to leave because it was too restrictive, and they ended up suing. So because of that case and a few others, that's kind of what sparked the whole 207 waiver. But it's a waiver that we use for all planning and zoning cases, and we ask the owners to sign, and they typically don't have an issue with it. Mr. Johnson and I believe the other property owner have already signed theirs, and we have it on file if you wish to see it.
Okay. I have a question. We have 2 roads that one enters and one crosses 79. Are they going to be signalized?
It's subject to the TIA, the traffic impact analysis. It'll be subject to what information that comes up with.
Okay, well, I think it's important because I think about the time a lot of the trucks and other vehicles get to that point, they're doing well over 65.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I agree.
anybody else?
I just have one other small question. I'm sorry. This was in your book that you prepared. What is cluster housing? Just for clarification. I've never seen that word before.
Cluster housing, there's a lot of it in Gilbert, the town of Gilbert. It's typically, what I've seen is when it's one driveway and you'll have what is also called like an 8-pack or 6-pack, where you'll have 4, 6, or 8 housing condos, if you will.
Like townhomes almost, or...
Yes, but they're compact, they're close together, but they usually share driveways.
Thank you.
Okay, I offered the applicant an opportunity to come up. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
No.
Good?
I got one, I guess.
Okay.
I was going to ask after the public hearing, but I'll go ahead and ask it now. I like this question. It's one our former chairman always asked, that there's 16 staff-imposed stipulations plus the catch-all in case we wanted to add one. And I just wanted to make sure that you had seen all 16 and you were aware of them and agreed with them.
We have seen the conditions, we have read through them, and yes, we are in agreement with them.
Thank you. Okay, no more questions. You have something?
Yes, before we open the public hearing, Vice Chair Commission, just wanted to be clear that public hearing is a chance for the public to make statements. If we have questions, we can get with them after the meeting or make appointments to meet them later.
Yes. Yes, that, just for the public's information, we aren't allowed to respond to you. You have to address the questions to staff. So, with that, I'm opening the public hearing on this case and ask and invite the public to come and address the commission. And
I stated my name once before. I guess my question on the traffic is, do I need to wait for the traffic impact analysis to see if you have any plans for roads coming out of the east of the subdivision?
Vice Chair, normally we ask for statements only, but if you wish, I could answer her question, if you like, but that's up to the Vice Chair. Yes?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, typically, after the traffic analysis is done, then we'll have more information on what roads will be developed first, location of streetlights if needed. And as the development grows, you had mentioned that you're south of the project, right?
East.
East of the project. Yeah, as I mentioned before, when talking with the owner, the focus is on, I believe, State Route 79 and Florence Calvin. So as it works its way, and that'll be up to them how they decide to move forward and whatever the market is asking for. But yeah, we'll have more information to give you as that traffic impact analysis is done. But as of right now, we don't know.
Okay, sorry. Don't understand the process.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you. Anyone else? And under those circumstances, I'm closing the public hearing and open it once again if the commissioners have anything left that they would like to address. Otherwise, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we forward a favorable recommendation on case PZC-02-15-PUD, the Johnson Ranch Estates Planned Unit Development.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to forward a favorable recommendation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, would you please forward a favorable recommendation on this case to council? Moving
Yes, sir.
on to agenda item number 6 under new business. This is case PZC 32-14-PP.
Vice Chair, Commissioners,
pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for all of your hard work, and those are some big documents and staff reports that you get to read through. We have another development in front of you, one that's currently existing, the Anthem at Merrill Ranch. Many of you have been through this process with the as the units, and the master plan is developed and continues to progress forward. This is Unit 36, which is in the Sun City portion, up in the northern portion of Anthem. You can see the vicinity towards the downtown area where it's at within the Anthem area. It's going to be right up here, a little north of the Safeway. A little closer zoom into it. It's going to continue on the development path along Spirit Way. A little information about this. This is the lot configuration. There's 69 lots within this unit. And there's 2 points of ingress and egress. One's on the south side. It's going to be right here as Spirit Way continues on, and one to the west that will connect to Unit 36, and also will provide a future connection and a third connection to the future Unit 32. Now, these lots are a little larger product than some of the other ones we've seen within the Anthem community. These lots vary between 53-foot wide product and 65-foot wide product. The lots range between 6,000 to 12,000 square feet, so these are pretty large lots. Usually, typically, they have reduced some of the lot numbers and provided larger lots. The home builder has in this area. The average lot size is 7,914 square feet, which far exceeds the PUD of minimum lot size, which is a good thing. It allows a higher density product here. The average density is 2.95 dwelling units per acre, and has a high open space dedication of over 7 acres, which is 31% of this gross product of 23 acres. The zoning for the P-plat is PUD R1, which is very similar to everything else around it, and exceeds going to that open space. The open space within the PUD, and when staff is checking, when these units do come forward, we check with what the density setbacks are for the homes and the open space. The open space for the PUD is 15%, and this one is 31%. So staff, just to review some of the stuff, staff had a few findings. It's in conformance with the zoning codes within the Anthem at Merrill Ranch Plan Unit Development. The P-plat has 2 points of access in the community, and the plat meets the density and open space requirements of the Anthem PUD. This is a very quick presentation. Staff recommends that the Commission approves the P-plat subject to the following conditions. If you have any questions, we're here to answer. Staff is here. The applicant is not present tonight, though.
Yeah, where's Mr. Bono?
He was unable to make it tonight, but this plat actually did come forward months ago, and we've been working with the applicant on multiple questions and design aspects of this. And everything's gone through fire, engineering, GIS, and planning after different revisions, and they've addressed every concern and have adjusted the layout, which staff is very satisfied with.
Yeah, just to the right of that is the wash. Well, there's 2 washes through there, and this is a continuation also of Spirit Way, which Spirit Way will eventually go all the way around. They're coming around from on the north side of this map. They're coming around this way, and they don't have much more to go. And I think they're going to change the name finally from Spirit Way to Spirit Loop. Not a big deal, but
it's more of a
you can see the
technicality.
washes here, and they're selling a lot of houses in Sun City. The product's moving really well. So
Yeah,
than
they are
that-
going to continue on moving that forward, Spirit Way, and it will connect. As you can see here is the northern portion of Spirit Way. It's going to come along here, and especially when Unit 32 and some of these other northern units are going through P-plat and final plat, they will continue and connect that roadway.
Yeah, all of the infrastructure is in, and the streets are in, up north of what was Unit 18 or those are all done, and Spirit Way's been extended around there.
Yeah.
And I don't remember seeing a plat approval on that. Maybe it was one time when I was gone. But
For Unit 18,
north of 18.
I don't think they've come forward with anything yet. Staff can check, though, to see what's in that area and get back to you about that.
Yeah.
Vice Chair, Commission, if I may, we have copies of all final plots that are required before development goes forward, so we'd be happy to show them to you.
Yeah. I assume that, but
They're also recorded documents, so you have the ability to go online and look at them through the assessor's website.
okay. Do we have any questions for staff?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess it turns into a comment without the, without representation here, but, you know, when I first got this drawing, it's about as useless to figure out where this thing is in the world, but it doesn't, this would have done much better, the subject site. But with that said, I'm not very familiar with Anthem, but this is starting to get the feel of something that we're building a lot of houses, they're expanding the project, and the only way in and out will be Merrill Ranch Parkway. So we're starting to put a lot of traffic on roads that are not meant for it. And I'm wondering how the owner or the developer is addressing this.
Actually, and just to comment further on that, it is actually in Sun City, there's only one way in and out, and that's so it's one access point until you get to Merrill Ranch. So as this grows, it becomes important that somewhere there's going to be another way to get out of there. Right now, there is no way. Eventually, I think when Sun City Boulevard gets extended north all the way, that'll be a place. I believe there is some plan to bring Franklin Road. The roadway is there. It has to be finished from Sun City Boulevard over to Hunt Highway. That would be a second road. But for all, well, there's only one access point, one exit point out of Sun City Boulevard. Out of Sun City, and that's Sun City Boulevard. And so that's not an unreasonable question how that happened. I suppose maybe to partially answer the question is that when this was done, when this PUD was done, it was assumed that it would be done in a relatively short period of time and that there would be other accesses and that no one actually counted on the decline in the market, the housing market, and which delayed a lot of this. So
Vice Chair, Commission, if I may, 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
When they came to us, they went vertical in 06, 07, 5 years. They were going to be done. So market dropped, and everything changed. It went from 5 to 15.
Well, I think it puts the onus on the town to consider doing Franklin to Sun City Boulevard on the north side of the property sooner than later.
So anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, this addition is 23 acres, just under 24 acres.
That's correct, sir.
Keith, can you go back to your original layout? Yeah, nope, too far.
Right here?
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually see what you're talking about on this one. I can't hear half the things you guys say, and I'm really interested in how the developer intends to handle this traffic. The way I'm looking at this right now with this addition, there's one way in, one way out. And we've already set the precedent that that's not acceptable. So I'm wondering, what was your approach when you look at it knowing that that precedent exists already?
Are we talking about Unit 36 or the overall development?
I can't hear you.
Are we talking about Unit 36 or the overall vision and development of Anthem?
You're proposing a new unit.
Uh-huh.
This is surfacing, and I'm looking at it. It's got what I assume is a wash or something between it and the rest of the world, and one entrance in and one entrance out. I can't tell if that white line coming off of it into the shopping center is a road. I don't think it is.
No,
It's just a border.
there's a border.
So, when you look at this, knowing there's one way in, one way out, and that we've already disapproved somebody on that same basis, what is your logic? How did you approach this?
This is a temporary thing. As the development continues to progress forward, they're going to have multiple ways, and Spirit Way continues to go up. So this is a major collector right here. So as the development continues on northward, they're going to be able to, as the road loops around.
Will there be future access to Hunt Highway?
I'd have to look at the overall master plan, but I can't tell you right off the top of my head right now.
No, there's no access to Hunt Highway there. The only potential access would be Franklin Road.
So that would be my question. Does the applicant have a plan to bring that road all the way up, approximately where the arrow is now?
Yes. And the road's going to
Chair.
continue on
Show them the connection on the top.
right here.
Yeah.
So this is the North Spirit Way. If you look on your monitor, it's already been coming down, and it's going to connect over here. Now, just like the case before, we had they had to go through the same process of general plan amendment and PUD. They had to prove that the traffic impact analysis of this area, ingress, egress, would be okay by the engineer and meets certain standards of the state and the city, and the town, I mean. So there is a traffic impact analysis that is a part of this development. So they've looked at a lot of the stuff, a lot of the questions, the circulation, fire has, police has, engineers and the planning department has, back 05, 07. And these are documents that we probably do have on file somewhere. I can't speak to them right now.
Is
But
that a
that is
road
the
that's
plan.
north of it, or is that railroad track or something?
Just north, that's Franklin Road.
Franklin
Going across
Road.
the white line going across there, Franklin Road.
Well, if you look at the photographs that we're viewing, the development to the south of Spirit Way or Spirit Route or whatever it is, that's the only way in and out for that development as well, right?
That has no access to Merrill Ranch.
So that they go up Spirit Way, and this is something that may perhaps should have been brought to their attention before, but I think if I hear what Commissioner Pranzo is saying, to him it's a priority that there be two ways in and out of any proposed development. So I'm wondering if that could be some sort of a condition.
Chair, Vice Chair Commission, as Heath mentioned before, the circulation plan has already gone through the approval process. So what you're seeing tonight, lack for a better term, access has already been established. The whole project, as you see, the whole Anthem, we have land use maps that will show you current circulation. So there are roads that that connect all the way to the north, as mentioned. However, I don't believe that Franklin is going to be a collector, at least not maintained or provided by Pulte. It's being used as a emergency access point, and that's it. There's plans to block that area off. We can't make any changes to the minor arterials, even some of the local collectors, because it's already been established through the plats that exist. A couple options for commission, or three options. You can approve the plat, disapprove the plat, or you could ask to table it to the next meeting in order to allow the developer to be here to answer your questions. But
When we look at access points, we're looking at specifically the unit to make sure that they have ingress, egress within the unit and circulation throughout the whole development. It's not right at this second, it's also looking into the future. So when I was talking about Unit 32, which is to the north, that adds another access point. You can look also through these other units, you can go through and get to the north. There is circulation opportunities. It's not just one road in and out. There's other opportunities to get around if there's certain issues. And a lot of these things have been looked at.
The way I look at this, Spirit Way is it. You
Yes,
either get
Spirit
in
Way.
or you get out with Spirit Way. So if I take Spirit away from fatal accident, whatever, I shut down the whole thing. Yes or no?
You'd have to speak to someone who
yeah,
is a
that's
fire
more of an
department
engineer question.
This is going above beyond the...
All right, I think
the
we've made the
description.
point. Anthem needs to get the message from you guys that although they have a master plan, this thing is starting to get large, and I look at these things, you got entire build-outs that are dependent on one way in and one way out. So they need to start thinking about that.
And the only access in egress is Sun City Boulevard. And it's blockaded at the end of the neighborhood that I lived in. It's blockaded. You can't go north of there. And you can't, well, you know, technically, you can't get to Franklin from there. And it's a dirt road. Sun City from there, Boulevard is a dirt road all the way up to the Wild Horse Estates. But you can't get there because it's blockaded. They have Jersey barriers and that. So effectively, the question remains that we don't have additional or alternative exits or entrances to the facility or to the neighborhoods. And it's growing to the point now, I think there are somewhere in the order of 1,200 homes that have been sold in Sun City. And that's a lot of cars. If we had a disaster and had to get out, you know, it's a lot of cars.
I got a quick question. I understand everybody's concern with access points because I agree with them, but if you could just tell me that I'm not going crazy. The rules that govern the access and the road and traffic flow and stuff, that's already been approved and stuff, right? So
approved by town engineer, public works director.
Adding stipulations or changing something that's already been approved is not, I mean, that's not really an option, is it?
Vice Chair, Commission, I would agree. Tonight we're to focus on the plat itself and the location of the proposed lots. Existing roadways, existing entry points have already been approved and looked at by the town engineer. Focus of our Planning and Zoning Commission is to focus on the aesthetics of the design and if it flows correctly as far as location of the lots. But yeah, that's something that is typically determined by the public works director and the engineers.
I don't think we should put this off or not approve it on that basis because it has been approved. But but I think that it's an issue that Pulte needs to address, and I think that you guys should put that on your plate to, for your
Wait a
next
minute,
discussion.
let's not get in front of ourselves. The town engineer is not the public. He's the town engineer.
Yeah.
So he can sprinkle holy water on it, but it doesn't exclude us from looking at it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, sir. I wasn't implying that your voice doesn't count. I just wanted to be clear that these are all have been looked at by the town engineer. They have a little more expertise on roadways and what's required and what's needed to address proper traffic flow. Isn't something that typically the planners make decisions on. I just want to be clear that we're on the same page.
And we can,
All right,
we can
I'm
have
not
the-
going to banty that. It's just, we've already set this precedent. Now, they've set the precedent and have done it for years with one access point, with the exception of some build-outs that are south of Merrill Ranch Road have multiple access points. They've already set the precedent that they put a lot of homes in with one way in and one way out. But there needs to be some thinking on this. Just because something was done before doesn't mean you keep doing it. Or because somebody approved it, it could be better. So,
Vice Chair, Commission, if I may. So just to be clear, sir, are you asking for us to consider with Pulte more access points on plats, or are these existing roadways aren't big enough? I just want to be clear on what you're asking staff.
I think they could plan a little better as far as access points go to build-outs.
So more exit points and entry points per plat.
Yeah, I believe we're on
Okay.
the same page there.
Okay, okay.
I understand they got to give up a little bit of land, and it does cost them a little bit more money, but convenience and for emergency purposes, I like the ability to be able to get in and out more than one way. I hate it when that bridge has got a problem, and I got to go all the way around, but at least I can go all the way around.
Vice Chair, Commission, we'll make sure we convey your message to Pulte and let them know that their presence would have been helpful tonight.
any other
good.
questions?
Very good. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, under those circumstances, I guess I'll take a motion. And
I'll make a motion that we approve case PZC-32-14-PP, the Anthem at Merrill Ranch preliminary plat, Unit 36, and have it please be noted that we are, in favor of more access points to heavy roads like Hunt Highway.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on case number PZC-32-14-PP. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's approved. Now I'm going to open, going to item 7, I'm going to open this up for the public to address commissioners if they have any comments or things they wish to address with the commission. Now's the time to do it. If I have no public, I'm going to open it up to the commissioners for comments. Anything you wish to...
I got one thing, and I was thinking about it with this access stuff that we were just talking about. When we were working with Diversion Dam Road and the highway, that intersection, it's pretty messed up. And I was under the impression that when the improvements and like McDonald's and stuff started happening, that we were going to get a traffic light. And I was just wondering, from me speaking as public too, if that was going to be happening anytime soon, or was on the radar. Thank you.
Okay. I just thought I'd mention that the County Board of Supervisors found some very attractive bonds, a bond, and they've taken that bond to pay for
So we have financed the expansion of Hunt Highway, the corrections on Ironwood, which will add some turnouts so that it's not, if you have to pull off the side of the road, you aren't going in a ditch, and the extension of Gansel, and there's a couple other little things in there, but the financing is there, and the intention is to expedite the expansion of Hunt Highway, and they're going to do several of the sections simultaneously, so it's going to be a mess out there, but it is projected to be completed by the end of 2017. So that's all I know.
One last thing.
Sure.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yes.
I think we're done, so I'm going to call adjournment. We don't have to take a motion or a second or any of that stuff for adjournment, so I'm just going to adjourn, and thank you, everybody. Have great holidays.